you, man.
Doug Collins.
Well, anybody who knows me knows I had to bring a little prop up here. And I will tell you what this represents to me. Is look around the room, 8 pounds of air, and what it's done for all of our lives. It has given me a life that I can't even imagine. Travel the world, all expenses paid. Either playing the game, coaching the game, or broadcasting a game that I love with all of my heart and soul. And so tonight, I'm going to use this ball a couple more times, but I'd like tonight to first of all say thank you to my presenters here. We've got Jerry Reinsdorf. Jerry hired me as my first coaching job in Chicago. Billy Cunningham, the all-time great Philly man. I want to tell you for Billy, thank you, Billy. Billy Cunningham, I remember when I was a little guy, it was always the Boston Celtics and the 76ers on TV on Sunday. And you get the ball to Billy C on that right wing and let him get to that left hand, and man, he was trouble. But Billy, I thank you tonight. Billy struggled with some health, as I have, and for him, he chartered his own plane to be here tonight to be with me, and thank you for that, Billy. Grant Hill, I thought he was going to be President of the United States. He might be, I don't know, we're not done yet. But I want to tell you something. I've known Grant since his days at Duke. My son Chris played with him at Duke, actually played in the national championship game where unfortunately we got beat by Arkansas. But Grant Hill, the one thing I tried to impress with him when I coached him is I really want him to understand how great he could be. And I think there was parts of Grant, because he is such a good person, he sort of held back a little bit because he didn't want to get in anybody's way. And finally I went to him and I said, Grant, you got to play, man, you got to let it go. And when he did, I will tell you, I thought of Scottie Pippen, who I've coached, and I looked down there at Magic Johnson, and I thought, Grant Hill is that kind of guy, that kind of player. And so, Grant, thank you for all you did for me. I want to thank the Hall of Fame and Jerry Colangelo. Jerry, I've got to know you over the last few years more than I ever had before. You've become a mentor to me. But when I think of Jerry Colangelo, there's nobody better at building champions, and whatever he touches, he makes it right. And when you're with him, you better bring it because he's going to expect excellence. So Jerry Colangelo, I thank you. John DeLeva, Jerry. John DeLeva, President and CEO of the Hall of Fame. Scott Zuffalato, Vice President. I'd like to thank Sam Smith. Sam, who presented my resume to the Hall of Fame, letters from Pat Riley, from Coach K, from Jerry Reinsdorf, to the committee, and they accepted me, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much, Sam. And he also wrote my story in the program, and I appreciate him for that. I want to tell you a little bit, okay, thank you. I grew up in Benton, Illinois, a town of about 7,000 people, an all-white community. And as I was listening to Dickie Barnett, I was laughing because I used to cut out shoe boxes and tape them to my door frame, and I balled up socks, and I laid in bed and I shot, and I made my brother rebound for me. And I just laid in bed and shot. And, but Benton, a community of hardworking people, coal miners, farmers. One of my buddies one day who worked in the mines for the longest time, he said, why don't you go down with me one night? And so he was on the midnight shift, and I decided, so I'll go down with him. I put my helmet on and had got the light, and we got all the way down, and he said to me, "Don't turn on the light yet." And I looked around, and it was pitch black. I could not see anything. And he spent 30 years of his life down there digging coal. And I think I worked hard on the basketball court. I always have to catch myself when I talk about how hard I worked, because when I worked, I thought I was playing. I was playing a game that I loved. I played for a high school coach who was so ahead of his time. I told you my community, 7,000. Coach Aaron, he brought out in me, he lit my fire. As a junior, I was 6 feet tall and weighed 130 pounds, and I averaged 3 points a game for my high school team. That summer, I grew a couple inches, gained a few pounds. So my senior year, I was 6'2", 150, and I averaged about 25 a game my senior year. And so somewhere I was going to go to play basketball. I was going to get a scholarship. And the first big moment in my life, really in basketball, is when I signed a scholarship to go to Illinois State University. And I will tell you, it was the right decision. I hope all my Redbirds are up here. But so I went to Illinois State. Back then, you had to play on the freshman team. So I had 5 of my buddies that we absolutely had a blast. Maybe my most fun year playing was my freshman year. And really what it did, it gave me a chance to get acclimated to college. And I wasn't ready to play on the varsity anyway. So the freshman year was great. After the freshman year, going into my sophomore year, at the end of the season, my Coach Colley got multiple sclerosis and had to stop coaching. So the athletic director, Milt Weisbecker, who became a huge confidant for me, stood up for me at my wedding, and was a man I could always call and I could always count on. He went out to Detroit, to Pershing High School, and he hired Will Robinson. And Will, all you have to do is meet him one time. All you Pistons down there, now come on, Magic, you know. Will, he said to me, "Champ," I don't think he ever knew my name. So he called me Champ. "Hey, Champ, I can spot a phony a mile away, so listen to me. I can find it." So I looked into his eyes, and he said to me, "If you trust me, I'll get the most out of you." And I trusted him. So I want you to think of this skinny kid from Benton, Illinois, of an all-white community, turning my trust over to Will Robinson. It was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. My sophomore year, I averaged about 28 a game. But then my junior year is when my life changed. My junior year, I averaged about 33 a game. And I had a big decision, because the United States Olympic team had invited me to be one of the 68 players to try out for the team at the Air Force Academy. And so just as I was getting ready to go on my spring break with my really good friend Don Frankie, he had a Corvette, and we were getting ready to hot rod down to Daytona Beach. Herb Rudoy came to a meeting with Dr. Weisbecker and I, and he said the Chicago Bulls wanted me to go in the draft early. They would draft me, and this is what they would pay me. He said, $35,000, $40,000, $45,000, $50,000, 4 years guaranteed. Well, I had about $100 to my name, so that sounded like I don't know how much money in the world. But you know what? I said to myself, I went down with Don. We sat for a week and we just talked. And I said, I want to try out for the Olympic team. It's fallen just at the right time where I'm going into my senior season. You know, I'm at Illinois State, and all I hear is, "You're playing against a bunch of guys. Wait till you play against these really good guards." I want to test myself. The one thing I've tried to tell my children, my grandchildren, is in my life, if you look at my career, I've never been afraid to fail. And it's one thing that young people today, we've got to put our arms around them, because kids are afraid to fail. And they look at it as failure instead of a way to grow. And I would think, And I will tell you, I got a lot of scars. I got a lot of scars, but I grew from them. I got to tell you a Coach Robinson story I think a lot of you guys will enjoy. So right before I went to the Olympic camp, I got this ball, I walked into the office and always go to see Coach. I was always the first guy at practice, so he couldn't say anything to me. I was the first guy in, I was the last guy to leave. So walked in with the ball, and he looked at me, he said, "Hey, champ, you think you're handsome?" You saw the Sports Illustrated picture. No, it's acne and a Beatles haircut. No, Coach. So he said, "Give me that ball." He said, "I want you to stand in front of that mirror, and I want you to look at yourself. Are you handsome?" And I said, "No, Coach." And he jammed the ball under my arm, and he said, "With that ball, you're the most handsome man on this campus, so don't lose this thing." So I go to the Olympics, and ill-fated, to say the least. Probably the most controversial game in Olympic history. And I want to tell you a moment where you find out what you got. And so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but with 3 seconds to go of the game against Russia, I got fouled. Took a nasty fall and a little dazed. And the score was 49-48. We were down 1, 3 seconds to go for a gold medal. And so I got up, I gathered myself, and I'll tell you, Coach, I look at you, Coach Riley, out there. It makes me think of this, the power of words. So I'm standing there at the free throw line, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. As I started to shoot my second one, maybe the horn sounded, tried to get a timeout, didn't go or whatever. I made my second one. They throw the ball in, we're up 50-49. Stopped 1 second, why? We don't know. Try it again, threw it in, stopped them again. So we celebrate. Now the third time they said, no, let's put 3 seconds back on the clock. And only 1 in 100 times would that pass ever go through. And it did, over Jimmy Forbes' fingertips. Kevin and Alexander Beloff laid it in the basket. And we lost. And so we were up all night. Johnny Buck put together a protest. We lost it. The Iron Curtain countries outvoted the free world 4-3. It was a political game all the way. It was the United States and Russia. So it was more politics than anything else. So what do? I get in the plane and I fly back to Illinois State, and I'm back on campus for my senior year. And I will say that my senior year was a tough year for me. It was the year freshmen could be eligible to play. We had a couple freshmen that every day wanted to show they were better players than me rather than be my teammates. And I was tired. I was worn out. I was exhausted. And the season ended, and came the draft. The draft in 1973. And remember that kid from Benton, Illinois, that 5'9" pudgy kid or whatever, in 1973 was the #1 pick in the NBA draft. I couldn't believe it. So my reward, I did have a couple extra zeros on that check since I stayed in school, though, so I did like that. But I went to a team that was 9-73, the worst team in the history of professional basketball. I go to Philly, and the first thing that happens right before training camp is I break my foot. And so now I'm in a cast, 6 weeks, they take it off, it's still broken, and the doctor said, you can try to play if you want to, but it's going to break again. And I said, I want to play. So I played about 25 games on 1 foot. My foot finally broke. Had to get surgery. It was interesting when you talk about growing up quickly, but when I had broke my foot, so I went back. Kathy and I, my wife, had just bought a condominium. I signed my life away, $35,000 condominium that I bought. And I found out on my way to the doctor to get my foot put in the cast, I found out she was pregnant. So now we spent 3 nights in beanbag chairs waiting for a bed to be delivered to our house because we couldn't get in there in time. So we didn't have some of those things that go on today. 76ers, every year we got better. We got George McGinnis, we got better. And we got the doctor, Dr. J. I got to tell you about the first time I saw Dr. J. If anybody knows, they used to play a game, the Maurice Stokes benefit game, but up at Cutcher's Country Club, up in the Catskills. And guys would just show up to play. And so I went up there, I was invited to play. So I'm changing clothes, and I look around, and it's Wilt Chamberlain. Freaking Wilt Chamberlain, you know, it's like, okay, so I get my stuff on or whatever, I walk out to the court, I'm shooting around, and all of a sudden I hear all these people like roaring, like the buzz, you know, when you feel something coming. And there was this guy, I could see him, and he was walking with 2 balls in his hands like this, and he walked out on the court, and he dunked one, and he dunked at the same time. Good old Dr. J, man. I said, I'm playing the wrong game right now. I'm playing the wrong game. But I'm proud that in 4 years, we went to the NBA Finals. We did lose to the Portland Trail Blazers. I made four straight All-Star teams. I was in my prime. And I started getting injuries, and I couldn't beat them. I broken foot, torn ACL, broken foot. Torn ACL. Finally, I had to give it up. It was the hardest thing in my life to know that I would never, ever play this game. It broke my heart. So I decided, what was I going to do? What was I going to do with the rest of my life? I'm 30 years old. I've got a wife and 2 children. So there was a contract clause in my contract that said, if you get injured, I had 3 years left on my contract. If you get injured, we can use you as a broadcaster or as a coach or whatever. So they chose broadcasting. So I broadcast on the radio a few games, and then, you know, you can't put this stuff together. So Billy has got Chuck Daly as his assistant. So Chuck leaves to go to coach Cleveland. Matt Gukas is doing television. Billy takes him, and I go to TV. So I do about 10 games. CBS hires me. And so I'm doing my business or whatever, and then I got a call from the Chicago Bulls. And they said, we'd like to talk to you about being our coach in 1986. I said, okay. So I talked to Jerry Krause on the phone, Tex Winter. Jerry flew in over from Tucson. I picked him up. It was about 115. And I put him out in the heat, and I didn't give him anything to drink. I hope he'd hallucinate and hire me, you know, so. But had a great time with Jerry. They called me up. I ended up coaching the team. And I asked him, why me? Why did you want to talk to me? And they said, we love the way you see the game and the way you love to teach the game while you're doing your TV. And so my thing, I always tell young people, you're always being evaluated, whether it be right or whether it be wrong. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a great book called Blink. And the essence of it is you can look at a person in 1 second, you make a judgment on who that person is. And so I was absolutely so excited to do this. So I got this guy named Michael Jordan. You guys heard Michael Jordan, right? Okay. I'm surprised Jerry let me have Michael Jordan, but he did. So I have to tell you about my first game with Michael Jordan. All right? It's against New York Knicks, Madison Square Garden, Hall of Fame coach Hubie Brown, Patrick Ewing, Bill Carr. They're loaded. My first game, I got Michael, I got Charles Oakley, I got Pax, and then I don't know what else. So with 2 minutes to go in the game, the game was tied. Called a timeout, and I was going to draw up a play. And so the guys were getting in the huddle, and I was talking to our trainer as he was giving me the whiteboard. And it was Mark Feil, who was our trainer, who 2 days ago I got a call from his brother that he died in his sleep. So this is Mark File, who was so important to me, and he was a wise ass. And he handed me the board and he said, "Coach, I got you this far. Let's see if you can get us home." So I said, "Give me the freaking board, okay?" So I got down in the huddle and I looked up and I chewed this gum and it had become a white powder around my mouth. I was soaking wet with sweat and I had a headache. And I started to look up and I saw this black hand reach out like this. It said, "Coach, take a drink of that water, clean that shit off your mouth. I'm not going to let you lose your first game." So we win. He ends up with 50. And I walk off with a headache, and I'm going, "There's nothing to this, Chauncey. I'm telling you. Come on, man." Great players make great coaches, baby, I want to tell you. But had a blast with Michael. My last year there, everybody will remember the shot in Cleveland. Well, there's some interesting things that went with that. We had lost game 4 at home. Michael had missed 2 out of 4 free throws in the fourth quarter, something he doesn't do. Brad Doherty got fouled 3 seconds ago, makes 2 free throws. So now we're going to Cleveland game 5, and they have beaten us 6 times in the regular season. So we're going in. It's a Saturday. We're flying in, play on a Sunday. And we get to the hotel. You guys are getting your keys. You know how the keys are out and everybody's getting their keys. And I said, "God, just give me a minute." So what do you want, Coach? I said, "Did you hear about the Kentucky Derby today?" "Kentucky Derby?" I said, "It was ran today. You know who won? Sunday silence. That's what it's going to be like tomorrow in Cleveland when we beat their ass." And Michael's shot made it really quiet, and we won and moved on. Then we went to play the Knicks, beat them in 6. And then we went to the Pistons, damn Pistons. We were 4-0, 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, and then finally beat them. But in my last year, we took them to 6 in the conference finals. And then I moved on to television. And I have to tell you, the day I lost my job in Chicago, hurt, man, it hurt deep, really hard. And so I went home, and there was a call. John Langle, my best friend, was in the house with me. And it was a call, and they said, "It's Don McGuire from Turner. He wants to meet with you tomorrow." So I met with him tomorrow, and Don McGuire hired me to a 7-year contract with Turner Sports. And it was so important for me because Chris and Kelly were growing up, and I wanted to see as many of their activities as I could. And Don McGuire, he said, "Give me their schedules, and I'll do my best to move you around so you don't miss many of their games." Because back then, Turner didn't have like a TNT Tuesday or Thursday. It could be any day of the week. And so I got my schedule, and I started broadcasting, and 7 years with Bob Neal, Scott Cockrell, Lonnie Dale, and our girl Michelle Zarzaka, who did everything for us. 7 years, and I had a blast. So after 7 years, I get a call from the Detroit Pistons. They said, "We'd like for you to talk to you for being our coach and general manager." And so I went to meet with Tom Wilson and Mr. D, and had the deal with them. And the reason I was only excited about this job was because that guy right down there, Grant Hill. I said, if I got that guy, I got a chance. We also had Allen Houston, who could shoot that damn ball. And we had Lindsey Hunter, who was a little pit bull. And I said, I got these 3 guys, and I had an older Joe D, who was a tremendous asset to me with these young guys, because he was a champion. And I was coming in, I had no rings. And so my first year with Detroit, we went from 28 wins to 46. We were plus 18. We lost Allen Houston, and we won 6 more. We won 54. And that man that year was third in the MVP voting, was voted the most important player on his team in the NBA, and that was when he took off, because he knew then what I knew all along, is he had the kind of greatness to make teams successful. And Grant, I'm always so appreciative of you, man, and how hard you worked. So after my Pistons days, I ended up going back to, this time, NBC. And a guy named Dick Ebersol. The man was unbelievable, Dick Ebersol. And I thought I was a good broadcaster until I got with him. And he took my game to a whole new level. And the one thing he taught me was storytelling. And what I mean by that is, what we got? What are we doing? What are we doing? Well, storytelling. I don't know where I'm at now. So, and in the Olympics, you have to let people know who's playing, who's watching, why they're playing, and give them some intel on that and stuff. So, in the 2000 Olympics, I met Mike Breen. And Dick Ebersol told me, I can't wait for you to meet Mike Breen. This guy is going to be a star. And man, Mike Breen, I love you, boy. Man, you're the most humble man I've ever met. And I love the hell out of you, man. Now, I'm not going to tell you that he was training to run a marathon, and he was doing his marathon running. I had to ice him down every day and stuff like that. So I want to get to my family now. I've got up here, chat a lot. I say, you know what? You know what I feel like right now? I feel like, remember Jimmy Valvano? And he said, what's that red light? Do I care about that red light? Are you kidding? But I want to get to my family. I want to talk about first of all, my grandchildren. If you would, we got over there, sitting over there. So we got Ryan, we got Kate, we got Cooper, we got Colin, and we got Riley. So I got 3 boys, 2 girls, 3 kings, 2 queens. I'm in a full house. My nephew Rob, Christy, and his family. Rob, I love you so much. My daughter Kelly, wow, she is a star. Kelly, what you did here to make this possible, thank you so very much. Chris, I wish I were the man you are. You are something special, and I'm so, so, so proud of you. You took Northwestern, a team that buries coaches, and you've turned that into a place where people want to play. And man, that's fantastic. My wife, Kathy, 51 years, and she's seen it all. I don't know how many games she's been to. She's the strength, she's the glue, she's the spirit. We raised our kids in a Christian home. They raised in a Christian home. We love them so much, and Kathy, you were the reason for all that. I thank you guys. Remember I told you about this ball? Coach Robinson told me never leave home without it. Well, I'm not, Coach. I'm taking it with me. I'm in the Hall of Fame now, man. Thank you.